The Grand Council chamber of Zentara Prime hummed with the low frequencies of a dozen alien species conducting galactic business. Admiral Kexithra of the Valorian Empire adjusted her ceremonial battle crown as she addressed the assembly, her 4 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "The matter before us today," she announced, her voice carrying through universal translators, "concerns the recently discovered species from the 3rd planet of the Sol system, the humans." A collective rustle passed through the chamber. The Crystalline Confederacy's representative chimed in harmonious tones. "Their technological advancement is adequate. Primitive fusion drives, basic energy weapons." "Adequate?" scoffed General Vorthak, the insectoid hive mind delegate. His mandibles clicked dismissively. "They barely mastered interplanetary travel 50 cycles ago. Their fastest vessels crawl compared to our quantum drives." Ambassador Thysse, of the reptilian hegemony, flicked her forked tongue thoughtfully. "Their military doctrine is concerning. No unity of command, fractured into hundreds of nation-states. They actually wage war against their own species." Admiral Kexthra nodded gravely. "This brings us to the proposal. Humanity requests membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. However, our analysis indicates they would contribute nothing meaningful to our collective security." The holographic display activated, showing human military capabilities. Chemical, propulsion rockets, nuclear weapons, conventional ballistic systems. Compared to the plasma cannons, dimensional shields, and faster-than-light dreadnoughts of the Alliance, it looked pathetically obsolete. "Motion to deny," General Vorthak chittered. "They are weak. Their technology is centuries behind. Their psychology is unstable. They fight amongst themselves constantly." "Seconded," came multiple voices across the chamber. But Elder Zephyr of the Ancient Watchers raised a crystalline appendage. The eldest member of the council rarely spoke, and when they did, others listened. "Perhaps we should offer them auxiliary status, logistics support, far from front lines." Admiral Kexthra considered this. "Acceptable. Let them prove their worth in supply chains and cargo transport. When they demonstrate sufficient advancement, we may reconsider." The decision was unanimous. Humanity would be granted the lowest possible status, essentially galactic janitors. 3 months later, everything changed. The Void Devourers erupted. From dark space at the rim of the galaxy, their biomechanical ships consuming everything in their path. These ancient horrors had destroyed civilizations before, leaving only dead systems in their wake. The Alliance's first response was swift and devastating. For the Alliance, the Devourers' adaptive armor nullified plasma weapons after initial contact. Their quantum scramblers disrupted FTL drives mid-jump, stranding entire fleets. Worst of, all their psychic screams could overwhelm most sentient minds, turning Alliance crews into catatonic shells. Within weeks, 3 core systems had fallen. The mighty Valorian Empire's primary fleet was reduced to drifting hulks. The hive mind's perfect coordination shattered under psychic assault. Even the Ancient Watchers' millennia of wisdom offered no solution. As panic spread through Alliance territories, a single human vessel requested permission to engage. Admiral Kexthra stared at the communication with disbelief. "The UES Defiance? That's barely a frigate-class ship." Captain Maria Santos appeared. On the main screen, her brown eyes steady despite the chaos around her. "Admiral requesting permission to attempt an attack run on the Devourer Vanguard." "Captain, your weapons cannot even penetrate their outer hull," Kexthra replied, not unkindly. "Retreat to the evacuation zones." Santos smiled grimly. "Ma'am, you're thinking like an advanced civilization. Sometimes primitive solutions work best." Before anyone could respond, the Defiance accelerated toward the massive Devourer fleet. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human ship ignored the Devourer's adaptive armor entirely. Instead of energy, weapons. It deployed something the aliens had forgotten existed: kinetic projectiles. Massive tungsten rods accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, powered by crude but effective chemical explosives and magnetic accelerators. The Devourer's bioarmor, evolved to absorb and adapt to energy attacks, offered no resistance to simple mass traveling at relativistic speeds. The lead ship cracked like an egg. But that was only the beginning. As Devourer reinforcements swarmed toward the lone human vessel, Captain Santos demonstrated something the Alliance had never seen: tactical unpredictability born from centuries of warfare against their own species. The Defiance jettisoned its entire cargo bay, filled with nuclear weapons set to detonate on proximity sensors. Not the elegant antimatter charges the Alliance preferred, but dirty, radioactive fusion bombs that scattered debris and radiation in all directions. The Devourers, accustomed to clean, efficient warfare, found their biosensors overwhelmed by the chaos. Their adaptive systems couldn't process the random, violent approach. Captain Santos wasn't finished. She ordered the ship's AI to broadcast every piece of human music, literature, and cultural data at maximum volume across all frequencies. The cacophony of human civilization, from Mozart to death metal, from Shakespeare to internet memes, created such psychic noise that the Devourer's mental attacks became useless. "What are they doing?" General Vorthak whispered, watching the tactical display. Elder Zephyr's voice carried new respect. "They are being chaotic, magnificently, effectively chaotic. The Defiance shouldn't have survived the next 30 seconds. By all tactical projections, it should have been obliterated. Instead, it continued its impossible dance through the Devourer formation, using gravitational slingshots around asteroids, deploying primitive but effective ECM that confused biosensors, and maintaining such an erratic flight pattern that even quantum predictors couldn't track it. Then came the final stroke of genius. Captain Santos aimed her ship directly at the Devourer command vessel and activated the self-destruct sequence, not with an antimatter explosion, but with a simple nuclear reactor overload that would scatter radioactive material for light years. The Devourers, faced with an enemy willing to die in the messiest, most inefficient way possible while taking them along, did something unprecedented in their species' history. They retreated. In the aftermath, as the Alliance fleet regrouped, Admiral Kexthra found herself reevaluating everything she thought she knew about warfare. The human approach hadn't been elegant or efficient. It had been messy, unpredictable, and absolutely devastating. Captain Santos survived, her escape pod recovered by Alliance search teams. As she stood before the reconvened council, no longer as a supplicant, but as a proven warrior, the chamber fell silent. "The motion before us," Admiral Kexthra announced, her voice heavy with newfound respect, "is to grant humanity full membership and fleet command authority in the Galactic Defense Alliance." The vote was unanimous. Elder Zephyr's ancient voice carried a note of amusement. "Perhaps we have learned something today. Strength is not always measured in technological sophistication. Sometimes the greatest weapon is the willingness to break all the rules." As Captain Santos accepted humanity's new status, she offered a small smile to the assembled representatives. "Thank you. And just so you know, that was us holding back. You should see what we do when we're actually angry." The council members exchanged glances, suddenly very grateful that humanity was on their side. From that day forward, no species in the galaxy would ever again mistake chaos for weakness, or assume that the most advanced technology guaranteed victory. The humans had taught them that sometimes the most devastating force in the universe was a species crazy enough to ram a nuclear reactor into their enemies while broadcasting death metal at full volume. The Void Devourers never returned. Some say they're still running,